Hey everyone, welcome back to Trip Tales. Today's episode is a 2-destination adventure through Seoul, South Korea, and Taipei, Taiwan, with a kiddo in tow. We are going to talk about where to stay, including the lovely Park Hyatt Seoul and the Mandarin Oriental Taipei, what to do with kids, and real-life logistics that you need to know. All right, let's head to Asia with my guest, Joey. Welcome, Joey. Thank you so much for being here. I start every episode with a rapid fire get to know you. So tell everyone where you live, what you do, and about your family.
Sure. So I live just outside of Dallas, Texas, in a suburb called Plano, Texas. I am a travel agent and I own another business as well. I have a 6-year-old daughter who has more sass than I know what to do with. And I have a lovely wife who we also dragged on this trip as well.
Amazing. And you also have a travel podcast as well. That's how we originally connected.
Yes, I do. It's the Travel Bros podcast. I am one of the 2 bros. Jamie is my other bro who's not here today. But
are you guys actually brothers?
No. It's like a bros slang term, I guess, if you will. But we're not brothers. We've been friends a long time. We're both travel agents. We actually met through Miles and Points about 10 years ago, which I know you're a foray now into it as well. And so we're both travel agents and we do the show together.
Awesome. And what, like, in a nutshell, what's your show kind of cover off on?
Usually it's a focus on luxury hotels. So like we're kind of doing a focus about this whole trip. Whereas on our podcast, we talked about just each hotel kind of in more detail with like some of the trip things on the side.
Ooh, I kind of love that. So if you're into luxury hotels, go check out their podcast and see what hotels they've covered. And maybe you can plan a new trip.
Definitely.
Okay, let's start with why you booked this trip in the first place to Asia.
Sure. So ever since post-COVID, we've kind of made an effort to do like, my daughter was born in 2019, so she was very little, the start of COVID as well. But coming into like 2021, 2022, we kind of try and do one long, at least month-long trip in the summer to somewhere. And we had done a couple years in Europe. And so we're just looking to do something a little bit different. So we went over to Asia. My mother-in-law also came on this trip as well. I don't know if I mentioned, but she grew up in Korea. So that was like also nice. We have friends in Korea, Taiwan, and Japan that we all saw. And we added Hong Kong in the trip. I know we're only talking about the middle, but it was just kind of like, it's always nice to see some people, do some new things, and have a good time on a trip. So that's just kind of how it got put together.
Yeah. And like you said, we're focusing on Seoul and Taipei for this trip, but this was a bigger 1-month trip where you went other places, which I think if we did a 1-month Trip Tales episode, it might take us over 4 hours. So that's why we're zeroing in on 2 cities that you wanted to talk about. But just for fun, tell people like the order of the trip, the whole trip, where you went.
Sure. So crazy enough, I actually started the trip in Raleigh, North Carolina. I was doing a work project and I literally flew from 6 a.m. to Raleigh to Dallas, got into Dallas at about 11 a.m. and then flew at 7 p.m. from Dallas to LA, picked up my mother-in-law, and then at 9 a.m. the next day we flew to Japan. So that was a little stressful.
When did you meet up with your wife and daughter? In what city?
In Dallas.
Okay,
so like I
Dallas.
was by myself, we packed, left, and then I actually got a ticket on the drive to LAX too, which my daughter likes to remind people about often. I'm like, thanks.
Yeah. Remember, Daddy, when you got pulled over? You're like, I'm trying to get to this flight.
Yeah, that was, if you need any more stress before a month-long trip, that was definitely it. So then we flew LAX to Tokyo, spent about a week in Tokyo, and then we did Tokyo to Korea to Taiwan, Taiwan to Hong Kong, and then finally back home from Hong Kong.
Perfect. And what month was this? When did you go?
So this was May of 2025. Like we basically left, my daughter finished school on Friday and we left Saturday. And if you do have school children, which I'm assuming a lot of people on this show probably do, you really want to leave to go to Korea the day your kids get out of school, because you're running into monsoon season. And we got very minimal rain on our trip, but about 4 days after we left, it rained for like 3 weeks straight in most of Asia. So if you want to do Asia in the summer, you definitely just, if especially, I know some people get out pretty early, but then I know like some schools I think get out like late June and stuff. Like
Yeah.
you're done. So
Okay, good to know. Yeah, East Coast gets out pretty late.
hmm
We also get out in May, and we've started to plan our trips a day or two after the kids get out of school. Even like domestically, I just feel like you don't hit that summer travel yet. And like we did Grand Canyon last year, and it wasn't bad. It wasn't crazy crowded in May. So we're kind of on that schedule too. Like out of school, let's go.
yeah, you'll get stuff a lot cheaper. And I know you had a very traumatic Disney cruise experience, but we tried one as well, which wasn't nearly as traumatic as yours, but we did the same thing. Like we went like Memorial Day week, and it was significantly cheaper than waiting to get into the summer at times.
Yeah, yeah. Did you like your Disney cruise?
I didn't hate it. I'm very neutral about it. I think it was nice. It's okay. I'm not a cruise person. We did
Yeah.
it and did Alaska.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
it was kind of cool. It was like a better way to see Alaska than driving around and doing some things, but I'm not eager to go back. But
Yeah.
I do understand how people can like it and enjoy it.
Yeah, I think we're the same on cruises. And it's almost like a check the box for the kids type of thing. I've been trying to lean into a little bit of like, travel that's great for my kids' ages right now because I will hopefully, God willing, have time to go other places when my kids are like in college and that sort of thing. And not to
hmm
say that I wouldn't go cool places with them, but sometimes I'm like, okay, if we're going to do, which this is one of my summer trips, like an all inclusive with water slides, I don't
Uh-huh.
really care about an all inclusive. I don't even think that it's my favorite thing because you compromise on food and that sort of thing. But if we're going to do it, let's do it now where the kids can like run wild at the water slides, go order their virgin pina coladas whenever they want, check the box and call it a day.
For sure.
One other thing I wanted to mention is that you said your mother-in-law was from Korea and she hadn't been back in 15 years. So this must have been pretty exciting for her as well.
It was pretty exciting. I think it was a little overwhelming in the end just because I think a lot has changed. I mean, she left Korea in the 80s, and it was, I mean, the technological advancements and everything that's changed. Like, I think it was a lot for her. Like, it was almost worse than going somewhere new because I think she like thought it would be more familiar, and it was so different. But she had fun. We met up and hung out with some of her friends that she had from like middle school and things. So that was pretty hilarious
That's
watching her be like a giggly schoolgirl with her old friends. You don't think of your,
yes.
parents and in-laws like that, I guess.
Yes, that's so cool. I love that. Okay, I'm going to share a map really quickly of where we're going today just because it helps my brain. And this is a big trip. I've never been to Asia, but just for listeners, I pulled up a map. We've got China is, taking up most of the map. And then off to the east, we have Japan. And then in between China and Japan, we have South Korea, which kind of juts out, like a peninsula. And then you flew from South Korea south to the island of Taiwan.
hmm
Taipei is the capital. And so, my first question, and excuse my ignorance, but I've never been to Asia. While I was doing my research last night, I type in Seoul, South Korea, which is a lovely big city that we will get into, great place to visit. And I'm like, wow, that is quite close to North Korea. And so then I Google, how far is Seoul from North Korea? And it says 35 miles. And that's about how far I am from Nashville in Franklin, Tennessee, which is not far. And so my question, and again, excuse my ignorance, is, I feel like we hear all this stuff like North Korea is so dangerous, it's so scary, don't even cross over the border. Like, what is that like being that close to North Korea, or do people not even think about it?
I mean, I don't want to speak for people that live there, obviously, but I mean, I don't really think about it in the few times that I've been. It's not really like a relevant thing, I guess, to me, at least now. You can go on, there's many commercialized tours you can take at the border. So,
Really?
if people want to search, it's called the DMZ, and there are like guided tours you can go. You can like
Like
look,
into North Korea?
No, you don't go in. You go from
Oh,
the South Korean side, but there's basically like a demilitarized zone where no one can access. And so then on the Korean side, there's like watchtowers. So you can like go up into those and like look into North Korean binoculars and do different guided tours. So I
what do
think
you
it's
see?
relative.
Do you know what you see when you look in the binoculars?
I mean, I think you just see into parts of North Korea. I don't think it's anything like overly exciting because their capital is pretty far from, where you're looking at border. But I think it's mostly just North Korean soldiers looking at you from the other side of this demilitarized zone.
Wow.
It, I
Okay.
I wouldn't put it on the top of my list, but I certainly don't think. I mean, Seoul is a huge metropolitan, city.
Okay, just wanted to cover off on the safety issue there because
Sure.
I've always been like adventurous and a traveler, and there were places growing up that my dad would say, "I don't care how adventurous you think you are, like don't go here." And North Korea is one of the places. So I just wanted to make sure we were all safe here. Okay, so let's talk about getting there. You are a points and miles guru, and you used a lot of points. So I know we're not talking about all the cities, but let's at least talk about how you got from LAX to China and then all the way to Seoul. Let's talk about getting there and the points component because I have some questions.
Okay. So Singapore Air has a flight from LA to Tokyo. They're a great way to get to Asia if you can get to LAX. They have a lot of availability, especially for families. One of the hardest parts about Asia on points is when you start looking at Japan Airlines, Cathay, and some of these, they often don't have 3, 4, 5 seats. So Singapore is always a good cheat that I like to use for that. For 4 seats, LA to Tokyo in business class was 492,000 points, and you can do it for about half that if you're willing to suffer in economy.
Suffer. Oh my gosh. Okay, pause.
Okay.
492,000 Amex points you used to get 4 business class seats. Amazing. What a dream. And that we're just getting started. We still have a lot to do. I know this is a loaded question and an entirely separate podcast, but in a nutshell, how do you earn so many points? Is it business
Sure.
cards?
It is. I mean, if you think about it, 492,000 points is a lot, but especially with Amex over the last couple of years, you've been able to find gold cards and business cards, I would say between 175,000 and 300,000 point sign-up bonuses. A lot of times if you get into the higher sign-up bonuses, I think it's a $15,000, $20,000 spend, but they usually give you 6 months. So if you and your husband both applied for 175,000 platinum card by the time you did the spend and some other, expenses, you're getting pretty close. I mean, obviously a little short now that I'm doing the math. But if you found 2 of the 250 bonuses, I mean, that would get you enough to get those flights alone right there.
Good point. And it is, I do need to remember, and we like dip our toe in points and miles. We're getting better at it. We don't want to have a ton of credit cards. So I just signed up for my first Capital One Venture X. I'm so excited. I've never been in a lounge. I'm such a newbie, but I'm excited to use that to get into a lounge. But anyways, I sometimes forget like that, open the business card for myself, get, the big bonus, put all our spend on, and then refer him, open him the business card. We've done it, but we're just like not consistently doing it. So I feel like we have like 200K points to burn here and there. But when I'm like 500 for one flight, wowzers. But hey, you did it. And business class, amazing. Okay, so then the next flight to get you to Seoul was...
Yeah, so that was 45,000 Amex points to Delta. Now, these intra-Asia tickets, you don't really need to use points. It's like not really a good savings generally. I just earn a lot of points and generally just try and use them for flights everywhere I go. Like this was realistically the 492,000 Amex points for the Singapore flight from a cash basis. That was probably like a $20,000 flight. We're using 45,000 points to get to Korea, but it was probably only like $600 cash for all,
Yeah.
it was just for people and the economies of scale, I would definitely use your limited points to get you to Asia and then pay cash to move around. One tip I will give people, we flew from Haneda to Gimpo, and both of those airports are smaller, almost like intra-Asia airports. So when you start getting around, Narita is, when you fly into Tokyo, is an hour plus from the city. And Haneda, it's about a 15-minute cab ride. So it's just one of those things like if you are flying around Asia, look at the smaller airports. It's so much better than being way out in the international airports. You'll lose your fancy lounges at
Yeah.
the smaller airports, but I think it's a good trade-off. And then we'd used, I think, 70,000 miles to get from Seoul to Taipei. Same thing. I had my mother-in-law up in business, so she cost a lot of points. And then we all flew economy.
Awesome. What a good son-in-law putting your mother-in-law up in business. I love it. Major bonus points there. Okay, so this is a big trip and big long haul flights. How did your 6-year-old do on the long haul international flights?
So my daughter's flown a lot now. She's probably over 400,000 miles in the air at this point. She's pretty good, except she won't sleep. So as long as you're prepared for that, she slept a little bit on the way to Japan, which was nice. But I will say on our flight from Hong Kong back home, she did not sleep on that 14 and a half hour flight. And she
Wow.
made sure I didn't sleep. Like I would
Oh,
doze
man.
off
Yeah.
and she would do this to me. She'd crawl up on my lap and go,
He's opening his eyes really
Yeah.
big with his
Yes.
fingers, like
She's like,
pulling his eyes open.
why are you sleeping? And I'm like, oh, no, I
You're
don't
like,
know.
because
Crazy
I
idea.
bought a business class seat so that I could lie flat.
Oh, she'll lie flat. She just won't sleep.
Oh,
But
funny. Hopefully that will change soon because I feel like my kids never slept on flights when they were younger. And now that they're older, they're like these big teens that like they are like on my shoulders and leaning on me. And I'm like, can you like sleep in your own seat? So hopefully that will change soon. But awesome. Okay, so you land in Seoul, South Korea. Tell us about the first impressions in Seoul. What is it like? What are you seeing?
yeah, for someone who's never been to Asia or Seoul, I think just the size and scale of the city is almost overwhelming. Like there's just buildings as far as the eye can see, there's just people everywhere. I think one hard thing about when you get into going to Asia and it's Seoul especially is just where do you stay?
Hmm.
Because there's just so many different like pockets of the city. You're going to get, if you ask 20 people who have been, you're going to get 20 people to tell you, I think, 20 different places, which is part of the cool, unique experience. I think you can go to older parts of the city and have a very like maybe what you picture as Asia, like a old school, temples and old little buildings, or you can go where I like a lot into like the heart of like downtown in Gangnam, where it's just very like fast paced, flashing lights, good food. Everyone's going 100 miles an hour. But that's also where a lot of the more touristy things are as well. So it's just, you can kind of create your own trip. But I think the one thing in any of these cities, if you've never really been to like a Asia metropolitan city, it's like imagine if you took for your sake about 150 downtown Nashvilles and just replicated it over and over and over. It never ends. It's pretty overwhelming.
Yeah, that's what I was just Googling right now. Is Seoul bigger than New York City? Yes, Seoul is bigger than New York City in terms of population and density. That's crazy. That's the thing that blows my mind about Asia. My husband's been to China for work a couple times, and it seems like there are so many cities that are monstrous, like bigger than we could
Mhm.
ever imagine, which kind of blows my mind.
Yeah, it really is. I will say Seoul is a little similar to New York City, maybe in a lot of ways. The interesting thing, I guess, from Seoul to like comparing it to New York City is there's a lot of terrain around Seoul, and you have a picture up and you can see it's kind of boxed in by these rivers and these mountains. And then so it's kind of weird how it's almost like very blocky and long, whereas, New York's kind of restricted to the island. It's just built itself through and around all these like big hills and mountains that kind of box the whole city in.
Yeah, I have a picture pulled up of just like a stock image of Seoul. But what's cool is that there's tons of modern buildings everywhere the eye can see, but then there's like greenery and mountains, and it's like a mixture of the topography and the city, which is kind of something that we don't really see as much here over in the US. Okay, so tell us where you stayed and how you got there. So are you using public transportation? I would assume in Asia you're using transportation and not trying to drive, but where did you stay and how did you get there?
Sure. So we landed at Gimpo, which I said is kind of closer into the city. We actually just took a car service to the hotel. I'm a big like when I land in a new country or new city, especially on any long flights, I just need a car service, someone who's going to pick me up, put my bags in. When you're getting to the airport, I'm a little more freelance-ish, but when you land somewhere, I was like, I don't want to start a trip with like, scrambling to learn some app or do whatever. So that's like
Great point. Yeah.
that's one of my indulgences. Just take
Yeah.
a nice little car service, have the guy with the sign waiting for you.
Yes.
And so we stayed at the Park Hyatt Seoul. And I will say, when you start planning your first Asia trip, one thing you're going to run into in Asia, and a lot of people probably have as well, once you have kids, it is kind of a nightmare to book hotels there because they are very, very strict, similar to parts of Europe, I'm sure you've heard, with room occupancy and people. Especially once you get into having 4 people, you're pretty much destined to have 2 rooms at any hotel, which is frustrating.
What do you think that's about? I hear that so much on this podcast, and I'm planning a Europe trip right now as well. And I'm just like, is it a money thing? Is it a safety thing? Like, what do you think that's because they still have sometimes like 2 double beds, maybe not queen beds, but what do you think that's about?
In Europe, a lot of times they say it's a fire safety issue.
That's what I was wondering. Yeah.
And so I don't know. I'll tell you this. Sometimes in Europe, I feel like some of these hotels just do it on purpose. Because it'll be like you'll have this room. There's a lot of hotels in Europe that you'll have suites. So it's a 7, 8, 900. So it's like the size of 3 rooms because their base room is 250 square feet. And it'll still be like 2 people.
Yeah. And it's like, we can cram some people in here.
Yeah. And now, mind you, some hotels in the United States have those rules, but they're not as... In the United States, they're very loose about it.
Yes.
If you can say you have 2 people, you can easily show up with 3 most of the time.
Yeah. You can even a lot of the Marriotts and stuff, it says 4, and you can call and be like, can I add my 5th, especially if it's a kid, a 5th to the reservation? Can we get a rollaway? I mean, we've been in hotel rooms where there is no room to walk, and they're like, whatever, just don't cause any problems.
Sure. So that is a downside here. And I did send you a pretty cool video. They have like a combo at the end of every floor. So there's 14 or 15 of these. There's a secondary door, and there's essentially a standard room and then a nice little corner suite. And then it turns into a little 2-bedroom suite, but you're only paying for the price of 1 suite in 1 room versus like usually a 2-bedroom suite at a hotel is, 10 times what 2 rooms would cost. So it's like a nice little trick that you have a private little room area for everybody, but it's not the $10,000 penthouse a night or something of that nature.
Yeah. Joey does really good hotel room tours and walkthroughs on his YouTube channel. So I will share that in the show notes, and you can actually see how he combined these 2 rooms to make it like a suite, which is pretty awesome. The Park Hyatt, I looked up some videos. I watched your video, and then I looked up some photos, and I'm sharing one right now. It just looks like lovely and modern, and I love a Park Hyatt. So was it as luxurious as we can imagine?
Yeah. If no one's experienced the Park Hyatt, it's probably somewhere on the level of, I want to say, St. Regis Hotel. If you stayed at one of those, it's probably a step below a Four Seasons or some of these other properties. But one nice thing too in Asia, Kelsey, you'll experience when you make it over there, their baseline service level is about 5 or 10 times higher than what you're going to get here or in Europe. So even like kind of a crummy hotel in Asia generally has good service. The one downside you will get is like in Asia, it's really hard to get, nearly impossible to get someone to do something like outside the box or outside of the rules. But as long as you need service inside of that box or inside of those rules, you're always going to get very fantastic service. The breakfast restaurant on the 2nd floor here is fantastic. That is the one weird quirk maybe to mention about this property. The lobby is on the 2nd to top floor. So you go in from the ground floor, you go up, and then you have to go down to your room.
So the lobby is like when you say like almost on the top floor of the hotel?
Yeah, it's like the 2nd to the top floor is the lobby.
That's kind of cool though. So like you get up there and there's like a view of the city.
Mm-hmm.
I like
and there's
that.
And there's a little tea room. The only thing above the lobby is essentially the swimming pool, and the gym is like the top floor.
Cool.
And then below that is the lobby. It is fun, but I will say after like staying there for a week, it was kind of old to be like, go to the lobby, go from the ground floor to the lobby, then down to your floor. It's like
But do
just
you
two
have to do that
elevators.
every time you go to your?
Yep.
Oh, okay. That would get really old. Yeah, you're like on floor 7, and you've got to go all the way to the top and go all the way back down. Okay, yeah, I get that.
Yeah, they do it as like a privacy thing, obviously. So it's like that way people can't get into the hotel. But it was cool for a few days. And then I was like, okay, I'd really just like to go to my room. But the cool thing about this hotel as well, yeah, great rooms, great property. Like I said, a really nice pool up on the roof, which the pool is in the spa. And a lot of times, a lot of the fancy hotels in Asia will not allow kids into the pool, or like they'll have kid hours or some things. You are free to enter as well. And they're not as strict. Some hotels in Asia will require swim caps. They are not as strict as some other ones. I got my daughter used to wearing a swim cap, and then she didn't want to swim while we were here, so it was kind of useless.
Did you guys go into the pool at all?
I did myself, but my daughter was like, I don't want to swim.
Oh.
So I went one morning when she hadn't woke up. She sleeps in a lot, so I snuck in there one morning when I went up to the gym. It was nice, gorgeous. Like I said, the lobby's great. They have a little tea room, and they have a breakfast restaurant on the second floor. And they have a bar underground in the basement, which I did not attend to as a tired father, but it looked
there.
nice. Yeah, it's there for those people, who have more energy than myself. And then there's a place across the street. One thing that I think the best part about the Park Hyatt Seoul is it's located where you could really walk almost everywhere you want to be in Seoul. You really don't even need a car. You're right above one of the large metro stations. So you can just walk out of the hotel into one of the large metro stations. And then I'm sure you've probably seen this on Instagram, and most people have. If not, Google the Starfield Library. And it is this library in this open public mall, but it's very Instagram friendly, I guess. So that's like right across the street from the hotel, and a fun little thing to check out.
I'm going to pull up an image real quick for fun. I just pulled up an image of this Starfield library. It's so cool. I don't even know how to explain it. It's just like massive, tons of floors, lights, planets, like just lots of stuff to see. Is this like a public library over there, or what is this?
So it's called the Starfield Library. I'm not even sure it's an actual library. I think I probably should know that because I walked through it or not, but it's at least a bookstore, but it's called the Starfield Library. I don't know if you rent books or buy them, but really everyone that is in this place is just taking pictures for Instagram. So people are just going up and down. You can literally just stand at the bottom of the escalators and people go up and down and they're doing all their, poses, and people are all dressed up. But it's just literally, imagine a humongous Westfield mall in your head, and this is just smack dab in the middle of it, is the best way to describe it for someone in the States.
Okay, so AI Google says, this is so funny because it's literally what you just said. Starfield Library is famous for its stunning Instagrammable design, featuring towering 13-meter high bookshelves. It says they're filled with tens of thousands of books and magazines, creating a breathtaking cultural landmark. But it is a free public space for reading, relaxing. But it does maybe sound like it's more of almost like an art piece and a place to go see than to go, I'm going to go check out a book for the day.
Definitely.
But that's cool that's right across the street.
Yeah. And then you're going to do a lot of things in malls in Asia, just in general. Malls are like thriving in Asia versus I think we're here, we kind of think of malls, most malls where all of us live are kind of like probably more depressing places than anything else. And so inside the Starfield Mall, there is a mediocre aquarium you could do, but then there's also probably 100 to 200 different restaurants.
Wow.
On top of a ton of shopping. There is a McDonald's there. And personally, I am a huge fan of eating weird McDonald's things in other countries. I know some people get a little judgy and they're like,
oh no, I love McDonald's. I love an Egg McMuffin. I love a quarter pounder with cheese. So what kinds of things did you eat at McDonald's in Seoul?
I will give you 3 strange things that you can get at McDonald's in Korea. You can get a Supreme Shrimp Burger.
Ooh.
Which is their version of like the fish fillet, and it comes with spicy mayonnaise. That's a fun one. If you're not a shrimp person, they have a mixed spicy chicken, which is just like a really popular like spicy chicken wrap. And then they also have Cajun fries, just a little interesting, like very well seasoned fries, mozzarella sticks, and you can get chicken wings with sweet chili sauce and Cajun sauce.
Wow.
So
Do you feel like the food quality is better at McDonald's in Asia?
Mm,
Same.
yeah, I think probably put it about the same. I wouldn't like count on going a lot. I think there's a lot of great food there, but I think it's just a fun thing to at least do once and see.
Especially if you've got kids in tow, because it's so fun for them to see, like, oh, this is McDonald's, but it's so different in this other
Hmm.
country.
Totally.
Okay, awesome. Well, those are some of the things that are right there, which is amazing. You spent a week in Seoul. So tell us about some of the other things you did.
Sure. I think the number one thing people should do if they go to Korea is go to a place called Lotte World. It is the world's largest indoor amusement park. First off, who doesn't want to be indoors at an amusement park? I don't know if you are aware, but Korea, even in May, tends to be very humid. And I have a client who just got home from there, and the feels like was negative 20 to 0 most of the time they were there. So,
Oh, man.
yeah, miserably cold winter, miserably humid summer. So there's not really like a great season to sneak into Korea, I think, at all times. But this is I mean, listen, it's not a Disney level themed amusement park. Like if that's what you're counting on, it's not going to be that for you. But if you can get over like a little bit of the lack of theming and just tip topness that Disney brings you, I think it's a lot of fun. They have a like panda shaped monorail you can ride. They have an indoor splash mountain basically where you get in a log flume and do the whole thing inside. They have a fun little parade. They even do have some like more grown up rides on the outside. But this Lotte World is once again attached to a mall. So you can leave the park and be inside a mall and eat and do things. There's actually, funny enough, an Outback steakhouse inside this amusement park.
Amazing.
Which I don't think I've ever seen an Outback steakhouse outside of America. So that one stuck in my head where I was like, oh, Outback steakhouse. But it has all the fun little rides and things. And then the nice thing is you can just pick to do it on like a rainy day or something of that nature. If you flew to Korea on Korean Air, save your boarding passes and you get like 30% off your admission tickets to the park as well. So that is a good top tip.
And is it like an expensive theme park? Is it pretty manageable?
It is not. I want to say the three of us was under $100 US.
Okay, yeah, that's totally. I mean, you can't even get into Disney now for under $100 a person.
No, let me see. It says 60,000 Korean won. What is that? Let's see. Yeah, it's $41 a person at full price, and I think we got 30% off. So it's just under $100 with our Korean Air tickets.
Great. And how much time do you think you spent there, or the average person should allot for something like this?
You could definitely do most of it in one day. My daughter's not a big ride person, so that kind of helps. We don't do a lot of line waiting. If you wanted to get a complete experience, I'd probably say 2 days would be like very sufficient. Day and a half.
And what is the wait times like? Is it painful, or is there so much to do that it's spread out? Can you buy the like fast pass thing?
They do have their own little pass thing. I didn't get too much into that. Because like I said, my daughter's not a big rider. There was some stuff you could walk on. The flume ride and some things I want to say were about 30 minutes.
Okay.
When we were there. So it's not Disney-like in any way. A couple cool notes too, just while we're thinking about it, is I said it is in a mall, and there is a humongous Toys R Us in that mall. So if you want to,
fun.
If you want to be nostalgic and get into Toys R Us, you can go visit that. And for some people that have heard of it, there's a Kidzania in that mall as well. We have one in Dallas. I know there's a couple around the United States, but it's like a humongous, like job-themed theme park play place for kids.
Cute. Mm-hmm.
And that's another fun thing.
Did you guys go in there?
We did. We have one at our mall, like here locally.
Like we can go at home. Yeah.
So we've done that one. We did spend a lot of time in Toys R Us, which I was more entertained than my daughter because I was like, oh, it's this. It just felt cool. Like I took some pictures of her, the Toys R Us sign. It felt very much like to be a kid again.
You're like singing the jingle. She's like, okay, Dad, stop.
And then if you're into like going to really tall places, across the street is the Lotte World Tower in like the Seoul sky, which is like, you can go up to the top and view the whole city from really, really high up. So you can kind of knock all that out in probably 1 to 2 days. And if you're very adventurous, you can like strap yourself into this suit and things, and they'll let you walk outside the tower. That's not for me. But
that just made my heart beat fast. Oh man.
Yeah.
By the way, it's Lotte World, if you're wondering how this is spelled.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I don't really want to walk around the outside of the tower strapped, but that's cool for thrill seekers.
Yeah, and then I mean, there's probably an endless amount of things to talk about. Samsung, like who makes their TV, also has their own theme park called Everland. So that's a little bit that's a little bit out of town. That is also a strange, it's like a shopping zoo amusement park. Like it does everything. Nothing really that well. Like I had a really good time there, but I would say I probably wouldn't send someone out there unless you're like a real theme parky person or a theme park family. But it has a zoo with pandas, and then it also has shopping. It has an On the Border, which was we decided to go eat at the On the Border there, which was quite entertaining. They had fried rice there, so that was pretty funny.
Because it's typically like a Tex-Mex place, right?
Yeah. And then they also have like roller coasters and some more grown-up rides, but once again, it's a little short on like the theming if you're like, a real Disney person.
So you guys went to Everland?
We did, but it's I want to say it's a 45-minute drive from like the Park Hyatt from where you are.
Okay.
So it is a little bit of a ways out there.
And then did you use a driver again for that?
We actually used my mother-in-law's friend drove us out there. So that was just an easy
yes.
I do think there's a way to get there on public transportation relatively easily, but I think that's about an hour and a half. So it's a pretty big commitment you need to get out there. The one I think must-do thing for you or any listeners if they're going to go to Korea, if you're there during baseball season, is go to a Korean baseball game. They are amazingly entertaining and not what you think by any means. There's a couple teams in Seoul. We went to it's the Kiwoom Heroes. They're one of the not good teams in Seoul, so it's easier to get tickets there. There's a team that plays in the old Olympic Stadium, like a mile from the Park Hyatt. But I asked our concierge at the hotel to help us get tickets, and she was like, "You're not getting tickets to go."
She's like, "This is one of those things that's out of the box, and I don't do that for you."
And I will tell you, you're going to need a lot of help to get tickets to a Korean baseball game. Either try and use some of the resources on Reddit, use your hotel concierge. It's really convoluted. You have to have a local Korean phone number.
Really?
To even purchase tickets?
Because they want it to be locals that go?
I'm not really clear because I don't think there's a lot of fanfare for people who want to go. I mean, I don't even think the game we went to was sold out per se. It was very busy, but
just some logistical thing.
Yeah. And so like the concierge had to show my mother-in-law's friend where to get the tickets, and then she bought them with her phone number and her name, and then we had to go like give her name and her like code at the gate.
Wow.
It was a lot of work even for us, and we had a lot of help. So I'm just saying, like, if you're going to go to a Korean baseball game, you need a little bit of a plan, but you're definitely going to earn it. But baseball in America is kind of quiet and boring, and people are talking. Well, in Korea, they have professional cheerleaders who stand on top of the dugout, and they cheer the whole game. And then they have like these little, I sent you a video. You can see there's kind of like I don't know what you call him, like a cheer guy leader who kind of like does instruments and brings them. And then everybody in the grandstand knows all the chants and shouts all together. It's very like coordinated dancing while baseball's going on.
Yeah, I loved it. You sent a video. We tried to upload it, but it was like a little bit too big. But what I loved about it is, it kind of reminded me the chants of like European soccer games, how like everybody will like be chanting things, but they were also all holding up like pink kitten, like paddles or something.
Yeah.
And it just looked like so Asian. Like it was like they were chanting in Korean. They had pink kitty like paddles or some sort of like, it was just so funny. Just like not what we're used to seeing, but it looked like a good time.
Yeah, it was super entertaining. And then the food all there was cheap and great. Like we had these fantastic chicken wings, there were churros and ice cream. And then unlike in Europe, they do allow people to drink alcohol in the stadium as well. Because that's always something I wonder when you're not in the United States. Some countries, it's a no-go. Some countries you can. And then the cool thing about this team as well is they play in the, I don't even want to say the name because my wife will probably make fun of me, but we'll just say the Gocheok Sky Dome. Gocheok.
Okay.
And it's also indoors. So mentioning the poor weather conditions, the heat, you don't have to worry about that as well here.
And is it the exact same game that we're used to? Same rules, same everything, like the baseball part of it?
Yes,
Okay, so
pretty
you can
much.
follow along with the game pretty much.
Yeah, it seems very similar.
Yeah.
It's very structured, 3 outs, team switch. So you'll be okay.
Fun. And if people can figure out how to get tickets through Reddit or their own ChatGPT research, how far is this indoor stadium from the Park Hyatt?
Probably 20-minute cab ride or public transportation. You also might get lucky you might be able to find a team at the closer stadium that you could literally walk to as well. But they were playing like the other best team in Korea. So it was like some huge hubbub when we were there. So they were like, no chance. But I would ideally like to go to the closer stadium. So that's also possible as well.
Okay, awesome.
I will say we went to a place called Vaunce, Vaunce. It's like a really fun version of a trampoline park.
Ooh.
That is walkable to the Park Hyatt. If you have kids, I would say anywhere from 5 to 12, there are an infinite amount of like kid cafes and like fun little indoor playgrounds and things for kids to do. So no matter where you stay, I think, and you can even find some for like little kids as well. There's a lot of fun entertainment and stuff like that around Korea for sure.
That's awesome. When you say kid cafe, what do you mean?
There's usually generally a big playground area, and then they usually have like an adult section that either has like a restaurant or like a little cafe, so parents can kind of sit and either drink, eat food, whatever, and your kids kind of have like a play section.
Can they start opening these in America?
I know.
That's amazing.
Agreed. You really would think when you experience one, you're like, this seems like a really good idea someone should be capitalizing on.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Good to know. So it's kid friendly. Let's talk food in Korea. What are some can't miss food items?
In Korea, you definitely need to get Korean fried chicken. I love Korean food. I could eat Korean food for my whole life, every meal. If you're going to go to Korea, skip beef, just as a top tip. It's not that good in Korea. You can get better beef Korean food in America. So your 2 windows for Korean food for protein are pork and chicken. I think the chicken, I don't know how they cook the outside of all the chicken in Korea where like the breading and stuff is so hard and crisp, but then the chicken is soft.
Nice.
And they do it in this way that just no one can seemingly do in America. Fried chicken is almost kind of like drunk food. So you'll see it in a lot of like street stalls, a lot of places that are just almost what you would think of as like a bar, but also serves fried chicken. So it's very casual food. You don't have to worry about being fancy. There is a place I can give you just outside the Park Hyatt. It is Kkanbu Chicken. It's Kkanbu, and it's a block from the Park Hyatt. It's fantastic fried chicken takeaway. Definitely recommend. If you're going to go to Korea, you got to try fried chicken. The other thing you need is Bibimbap, which it's essentially a Korean dish. It's made in this big stone, and it's warmed rice with either seasoned vegetables, meat. Most of the time they put beef in there, but you can do pork. Chicken's a little boring in there with a fried egg. And then it's called Gocheok, but it's essentially just a chili pepper paste. And they give it to you, and it's all nice and laid out, and you just smash it with your chopsticks, mix it up, and eat it. Kids tend to eat it a lot in Korea, so it's not really like that crazy of a dish, but it's very traditional, but it's also very easy. It's just some veggies, rice, beef, and egg.
Yum.
But
that sounds amazing to me.
Yeah, it's a fun little meal. You can find that anywhere too. So that's why I think it's a good recommendation. You have to like go out of your way to go discover that anywhere.
Awesome. Well, Seoul sounds amazing. And I feel like now my head is wrapped a little bit more around that city and things to do. And it sounds amazingly kid friendly, which is exciting. So next you're off to Taipei. So you fly Seoul to Taipei. And again, landing in Taipei, Taiwan. What are your initial first impressions? What are you seeing? What's it like?
Taipei is really unique. Well, first off, Taipei Island is very small. And then Taipei is a much smaller city from Korea. If you feel like you'll be really overwhelmed by like a Korea or Tokyo, Taiwan is maybe where you could go to get like Asia Light. The one thing
I
will
like
say,
that, Asia Light.
Yeah, the one thing I will say about Taiwan, you will not really have much of a problem finding anyone who speaks really good English there, which is helpful. But Taipei is a little older, a little dirtier. Not in like a gross way, but it's just a very like kind of more worn down
like a little
city.
Grit.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of grit to it. And like I said, it's a little smaller. The real upside to Taiwan is it is so cheap compared to Korea. You have Tokyo and Japan, which is expensive. Korea is somewhere in the middle, and then Taipei is like deal of the century place to be.
Okay. So where did you stay in Taipei?
Sure. So we stayed at the Mandarin Oriental, which is, I'm going to tell you, it's the best hotel in Taiwan. The one downside is it's kind of in the business district, and where a lot of the fun things you want to do is kind of like a little bit on the other side of town. So depending on how much you value best hotel versus location. But a good point of perspective here is you can stay at this hotel for 300 to 500 US a night. And if we transported this hotel to Korea, it would probably be a $400 to $600 hotel. And if you moved it to Tokyo, you're probably at an $800 to $1,000 hotel. So like that's a good indicative way to put some of the value there.
I pulled up a picture of the lobby, you guys, and it's just like stunning columns and tile work and white and gold and black accents, and just looks pure lovely and luxury and beautiful.
Yeah. And then once again, talking about Asian service, I went for a run almost every morning we stayed here. And when I would come back into the hotel, they would give me, it's like a Japanese version of a Gatorade called Pocari Sweat. I love it. Some people dislike it. It's an odd taste, and a cold towel.
Oh my gosh, they were like ready for you.
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible.
This is very incredible. This place has a really fun pool and spa. Another place where there's really no kids restrictions at the pool. There were a lot of other kids at the pool. I think I mentioned to you, we were there during Dragon Boat Festival week. And so they even had it's like a big traditional thing where they go out and race these traditional boats through the rivers. So they had the kids recreate it one day when we were there with like floaties.
Oh my gosh, that's so fun.
It was really fun. And so then I think the winner I couldn't get my daughter to enter the race, but we watched all the other kids race, and they gave like the winner like a $50, hotel credit or something of that
gift card or something. Oh my gosh, that's so fun. I have a picture of the pool pulled up. Is this what it looks like in real life?
Yeah, that is what it looks like in real life. It's great.
You guys, it's so beautiful. I feel like it gives you those like White Lotus vibes. It's got all this greenery and palm frond type plants, and then like cabanas with pillows and beautiful tile work in the pool, like all over the bottom. It's gorgeous. So this looks like a great place to chill. And it's warm while you're over there in the summer. So you're able to enjoy the pool, and awesome that kids are allowed.
Yeah. And I want to say it's on the 4th or 7th floor. And the nice thing is the hotel kind of goes all around it. So even though you're in the middle of this very like hustle bustle Asian city, it's kind of quiet and serene in the pool, which is always like a nice, juxtaposition there. Probably one of my favorite hotel buffets I've ever been to too. So if you're a hotel buffet breakfast person, this is where you need to be.
Awesome. And is that included, or you pay for that?
Great question. If you manage to book through, like this is a Amex FHR hotel. We're talking about Amex points. And if you need your Amex FHR credit, you can get it included. If you use a travel agent of your
like
preference.
You?
Yes, like me. There's lots of other ones as well.
Yeah.
Mandarin Oriental has a program that'll do free breakfast with a property credit similar to FHR and things. If you don't want to use either of those things, I think generally if you prepay, like they'll usually do it'll still come at a cost, but I think usually they'll do like half the price of breakfast if you book like a breakfast room prepay.
So worth it at this hotel, you're saying?
I think so.
Yeah. Awesome. And then how are the rooms here?
They're pretty large, especially for Asia. I want to say the base room is right around, it's close to 500 square feet. I mean, that's the size of a lot of people's apartments in this country. So it's a nice, comfortable room. They do really well with lighting. It's kind of old, like design-wise, but they do a really good job, like keeping everything maintained. You have an actual like leather headboard here, very large bath. They have a huge bathtub that even like I could fit in. And then all of the rooms have a nice little walk-in closet, so you can put all your stuff like in and away in a corner, which I always appreciate as well.
Yes. I'm not sure that I would want to leave this gorgeous hotel, but I'm sure you did. So let's talk about some of the things you did in Taipei.
Sure. I think the most fun thing to do, and I cheated. I have some good friends that used to live in Manhattan who've now moved to Taiwan. So they kind of took me around So I have some good authority, I feel like, in here. But it's this thing called the Maokang Gondola, and it starts at the zoo. And then it'll take you up into these gorgeous mountains that are just outside of the city. When you get to some of these places, you can essentially get off, and there's these temples that you can go visit.
I pulled up a picture of the gondola, and it's kind of what you would picture as like a little ski gondola that fits, 4 to 6 people, the 2 little benches on each side, like little compartments. That's way, way high up over the city, and super cool that it stops at different places like the zoo and temples and other spots.
Yeah, and then there's a place, so Maokang Station from the gondolas. There's a lot of little restaurants and tea shops there, and one cool thing is there's a lot of hiking you can do if you're adventurous that go out into these temples. There's some really good like ice cream and restaurant places. We had a place called Mountain Tea House, and since this is actually a traditional tea growing area, a lot of the food is actually tea infused here. So you can eat like tea infused fried chicken and like these odd things that you don't really find in a lot of places. And then the nice thing is the Taipei Zoo. So what we did ourselves is you start at the zoo, you kind of park or take your car over there. We took the gondola up the mountain, had lunch, did a little bit of hiking, as much hiking as you can do with, 6-year-old children, which is not very much. Then you go back to the zoo, and the zoo is $1.25 US admission a person.
Amazing.
So we just went in for like the last, hour or two of the, at that price, or maybe it's $2. It's such low commitment, it doesn't even matter. You're like, sure, we can go do the gondola for a little bit. And then if you pay an extra $1, you can get a glass bottom gondola. I know for some people that's frightening. And,
yeah. Did you do it?
We did, yes.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's another fun little thing you can do there. But the zoos, it's a average zoo at best, but it's fun when you tie it together with doing, even if you just ride the gondola and come back down, I think it's worthy of a good little trip.
Yes. What about this night market?
Okay. I'm not going to say the name of it right either. Don't worry. I think it's the Ranoe Night Market. It's Raohe. And that was one of my favorite things we did. It is a little busy, but it has this famous food called the Fuzhuo Black Pepper Bun. And then there's probably like 3 or 4 places that you can get these at there. But they are the most hot item. You have to be careful when I almost put a hole in it and let a bunch of the steam come out. But it is one of the best foods I've ever eaten in my life. And I'm not a small person, so I've eaten a lot of food in my life.
Okay, explain what it is. We need to know.
It's almost like if you've ever had like a bao bun or something, but it's almost a harder bread. It almost is like the softest biscuit you've ever had. And then inside it is all of this like black pepper beef.
Okay, yum.
And so you just eat it, and it's just so warm. I feel like if it was cold, it would be half as good.
I've got a picture pulled up. It's got like a cool entrance. And then is it a lot of food stalls? Are you going there for food?
So it's mostly food stalls.
Okay.
You'll find Asians just find food as entertainment. But there's also some fun things for kids. They have these like a balloon popping tent where they give your kids darts, and then if they pop like a certain number of balloons, they win like certain size prizes. So almost like what you would think is like fun little circus games in the States. And then there was even another station where they got to use these cool, they gave them these tins that had an outline of like Mario characters and things, and Disney characters, and then they painted them and they put them in this big oven and like baked them and then peeled them off, and they were like almost like a sticky. Like we have them stuck on our bathroom mirrors for my daughter. The one she painted.
Fun.
So there's some fun other little things to do. There's like right off the market, there's a lot of other shops too that have like, there's a whole thing that has like claw machines. So if you want to do some claw machines, but I would, if you're going to go there with the intention of being very hungry, I would say is a good tip.
So we've got I'm going to spell it Fuzhou, Fuzhou Black Pepper Bun at the Rohe Night Market. We'll put this all in the show notes. Is there one food stall that sells this, or are they all over? And are the lines really long to get the best bun?
So it is one company that sells it, but they have like 3 stalls in the market, and it is a Michelin rated pepper bun. So
amazing.
It is very amazing. And I think it's probably the cheapest Michelin food you could ever purchase. I want to say it's like $2 or something for one of these.
That's so cool.
So the night market is just a really long street. And from what I remember, there's one location at both entrances. So depending on whichever street side you come in, there's also one in the middle. I think we probably waited about 5 minutes or so to
Oh,
get ours.
great.
So
Yeah,
it
no
wasn't too
problem.
bad.
Okay, any other food that is a can't miss in Taiwan?
Yeah, it's called a goi bao. And the closest way to describe it for someone that's never had one is it's basically what you would consider a Taiwanese cheeseburger.
I pulled up a
Uh,
picture of it just for fun because I Googled it and I was like, that looks delicious.
yes, it is. Now, it is pork generally. Most of their bread is very soft, which if you like soft bread, then you're in the right spot.
Kind of like
And
the bao buns that we can get places over here that, yeah.
correct. It's very similar to that. And so what they'll do is it's a big, tender braised pork belly, and then they put pickled mustard greens, a little bit of cilantro, and then actually I think they use, I don't want to say the wrong thing, but it's almost like peanut butter powder
Hmm.
with some sugar, and then they put usually a salted egg yolk on it.
Yum. So you've got that like sweet and savory in a warm, wow, that sounds incredible.
Yeah, and then once again, that's also a street food, as they would call it, if you will. So it's like a little grab and go bite. So the nice thing is you can like have a peppered bun, you can get one of these, like you can just kind of be like grazing all day there, which I really appreciate.
Yeah, yum. You mentioned the Dragon Boat Festival that happened to be going on while you were in Taiwan. I'm going to share a little picture of it really quickly. It's a big festival and there are people racing these boats. So you mentioned in your notes that this holiday kind of moves around. Like, what do you know about it? It happens every year, but like if people wanted to go during it, can you just look up when it is the next year?
You can. So it happens on the fifth day of the fifth lunar month of the year.
Okay.
When I had read about it, it's like a 2000 something year old tradition. So when we went, it happened right at like, it was like June 1st, I want to say is when it happened. And for 2026, it's scheduled for June 19th. So it's
Okay.
always in that same general time, but it just, the lunar calendar and our calendar are a little off, but it tends to be, I think, in the May, June timeframe. But it's a fun time to be in the country. Like tons of people line up on the side of the river, and it's just like a very celebratory, exciting, and like I mentioned, our hotel did stuff to celebrate. Everyone kind of has like certain things going on for Dragon Boat Festival weekend, and it was nice because our friends who live there, it's a school holiday, so we got
Oh,
extra.
so they were off. Yeah.
Yeah, weekday time with our friends.
Fun. Did you watch any of the boat racing?
I did in the morning. I did a really long run on Dragon Boat Festival morning. So I was
Cool.
like early on, but I saw some of their like practice runs and doing some things getting set up. It's really cool. I mean, they're very athletic.
What's a long run for you?
I was marathon training at the time when we were there this summer. I was running the Chicago Marathon. So I think I did 18 miles around Taipei when I was there.
Amazing. My husband is a huge runner too, and he's a very committed. We are very different people. I am like sleeping at the hotel and order room service, and he's like off running. But it is one of his favorite things when we're traveling. He doesn't sleep in much. And so if he's up, he wants to like see the city or wherever we are like on foot. And so it's one of his favorite things to just put on his running shoes and go explore without really a plan. So you sound similar to him.
I do like that. And I will say, if you end up staying at the Park Hyatt Seoul, to veer back a little bit, they have some really fun running paths with like these very nice bathroom areas and little coffee shops along that river as well. That's right by
Awesome.
the hotel as well.
Sweet.
They have a lot of museums. I think some of them are pretty boring for kids, but if you have kids who are more into like history and some things, I think some of those might be fun. The other area I think you've got to touch on while you're there, Taipei 101 is just a great area. That's the tallest building in Taiwan. You showed a little picture of it. They're actually building a Park Hyatt next to that. There's a good
nice.
tip that hopefully will be open soon. Maybe when you get there, you can point that up. But that whole area has tons of restaurants and food and fun. And then I'll give a shout out real quick to two places. Something you're not going to expect. It's called Jira Pizza, Gira. It's over by the Mandarin Oriental. One of the best pizzas I've ever had.
Awesome.
In Taiwan. I know. And then there's a pastry shop that you'll love the name of. It's called But We Love Butter.
Yes, we do.
That is also near the Mandarin Oriental, but you can find a lot of fun stuff. Same thing too. There's a lot of kids cafes and fun things. And the nice thing about Taiwan is you can Uber across the whole city for like $6 or $7 US.
Amazing.
getting around and moving around there is not really a big deal, which is nice.
Two last things that I had pictures of that you had shared. We didn't talk a ton about temples. This, I believe, is in Taipei. Is this a temple?
It is. That's actually right in front of the night market. So you could
Okay.
just start your night market adventure there. I personally, I like temples. I like looking at them, but I can only do like one or two in a city. And then I'm like, okay, they all kind of look the same.
Yeah, it's kind of like cathedrals in Europe, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's like too hot of a take, but I'm like, I don't know. I'm just not intellectually smart enough to like appreciate each one where I'm like, oh, this is really pretty and cool. And then once I've gone to one or two, I'm like, I'm okay.
Yeah. So pick one or two that's already on your route and places you are, experience them if it's not your thing, and then maybe move on.
Totally.
Okay, one other question I had, because this looked really cool, and I was like, what is this? Is this bridge that is bright purple and blue? It kind of almost looks a little out of place with all the buildings and stuff, but what are we looking at here?
So that is actually just a place called Rainbow Bridge.
Oh, cute.
That was on my running route that I had mentioned. And
Nice.
same thing, they have a lot of like services and amenities. And they actually have, I don't know how to explain it, but if they have a lot of monsooning and raining, the city, if the Kulung River, which is where you run along, tends to flood a lot. And they actually have seawalls on either side of the river. So like as it monsoons and floods, they actually lock them and shut off so it doesn't flood into the city. So that bridge is actually one of the bridges that you can get across the river when it's not open. Like it goes across over the seawalls from one side of the city to the other. And it was kind of fun. So I just threw a picture in it because it's pretty in a different color.
Yeah, it is pretty. It's bright blue and purple. Fun bridge. Okay, ready for my last two questions?
I hope so.
This question's going to be a little tough to answer, I think, but maybe you will have an opinion. Japan is a hot spot right now. I feel like everyone I'm following is going there or trying to bring their kids there. My sister just told me that like that's somewhere that she really wants to bring her kids to soon. So if someone listening is planning a trip to Japan and wants to add one more stop, would you recommend Seoul or Taipei for a first Asia trip with kids?
I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to say I would do Taipei just because it's different. Well, Seoul and Tokyo are a little bit the same. Like they're both just large metropolitans that are overwhelming new technology. I would pick Taiwan just because it's a very different experience, I think, than if you're going to do the two. However, I think there's a lot of places to go in Japan that if you're doing a little trip and you don't want to go somewhere as far as like, I can't handle the brain power of a new country or here or there, Okinawa is somewhere I went on my honeymoon, and it is basically Hawaii in Japan.
Awesome.
And it is a little bit of a long flight from Tokyo, but it is incredibly gorgeous, and it's not very busy or populated like you would think of a Hawaii or some place of that nature.
Okay, love it. Love both of those choices. Okay, Joey, this has been amazing. And I end every episode with the same question. So if someone out there is considering a trip to East Asia, what is it about South Korea and Taiwan that would make you say, just book it?
I just think it's an experience you can't replicate anywhere else. It's just it's so strange because I think the world has gotten so much smaller, especially with the internet, and where Asia is just this when you go to Europe, it feels comfortable. Like it just seems like, oh, these people are like Americans living in the past or something. You know what I mean? Like it's just like, it's not quite there. Everything's a little slower. When you go to Asia, it's this real just kick in the face. It's like aggressive, but also comfortable in a way, but also a little uncomfortable. And I think what I noticed even with my daughter going to Asia versus Europe, she was very aware that she was in a very different place. Like she has gone to 5 or 6 countries in Europe. She's very comfortable there. She's like, oh, people are speaking a different language. But short of that, it kind of feels all the same. And when you get to Asia, it's just the lights, the advertising, the speed of things is such a, I don't know. I think it's very memorable, especially if you haven't traveled a ton. Like it's just an experience you can't replicate anywhere else.
I loved that answer. I kind of loved the kick in the face. Like it's just like wakes you up. You're like, you're not in America anymore. Love it. Okay. This has been amazing. You are full of knowledge. I can tell that you like luxury hotels and probably help a lot of other people plan trips to luxury hotels around the world. So tell listeners where they can find you online.
Sure. On social media, we are Travel Bros Pod, POD. I think pretty much everywhere you can find us: Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all the normal places. Shoot us a message, travelbrospod.com. We have a nice booking form if you'd like to get any information on a trip. And definitely listen to Trip Tales as your number one travel podcast. But if you need a second one, we'll gladly take you as a listener.
Yes, amazing. Joey, thank you so much for being here today and for sharing all of that amazing knowledge.
Perfect. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me, Kelsey.